All right. Welcome back to the Deadman Tome podcast with your hosts, Mr. Deadman, Becky, and SK. How are you doing?
You know, not bad for a Saturday night.
Oh shit! It's Saturday night. Oh,
SK.
damn it! What are we
What?
doing?
It's not Saturday.
Why are we doing a show?
What?
What? I need to go out there.
It's not Saturday.
Oh.
You are not making it Saturday because I am not ready for Sunday to happen.
Becky.
And I'm not talking about me and Easter either.
Oh, I'm about to say, Becky, you don't have kids. You can't be fretting about no Easter Sunday. No, see, no, that's gonna be interesting. You know, watching the kids like fight over the eggs like it's war. Oh man,
I would
like fun.
rather do that, but that's not why I'm not looking forward to Sunday.
The whole confessing your sins thing. I totally get that. You know, that's why I have Jack Daniels here.
Well, I would be there all day. No,
sipping on some.
No, that's not it either.
That's not
Do
it.
they take reservations?
Man.
In the confessional?
Then I guess this in the chat during the show, if you could figure out why Becky dreads Sundays, that'd be great.
Is it this particular Sunday or in general?
No, it is this particular Sunday.
Oh, it must be it's probably your birthday.
Why. I think I know why. Oh.
Why?
Nope. Let the chat figure it out. And I will reveal. Right. I'll use my mind reading powers. I made my
guess.
Okay.
Oh, hey, Jesse, I have a question for you.
Yeah, I might have an answer.
Do we have a guest tonight?
No.
Oh, I think we do. Let me look at the post. I do declare we have a Bryan W. Alaspa. Bryan W. Alaspa. How's it going?
It's going well. Yeah, just wondering why the fear of Easter. I've got to know the answer now.
See, it all happened on Easter Sunday when Becky was terrorized by an Easter bunny. You see,
an Easter spider.
I said it wasn't going to reveal.
An Easter spider? Really?
Yeah, an Easter spider.
No.
It's the ancient tradition.
God.
And inside the eggs are little bitty spiders.
Yeah.
So, Shut up.
Like, look at that.
Lots of them. Thousands of them.
Flesh-eating spiders.
No.
Oh, wait. Speaking of which, hey, Bryan, don't you have a book about spiders?
Yes, actually, I do. I was just thinking that.
Wait.
I have a book called Spider. Yeah, out there about it's about spiders and really nasty spiders that get inside people and stuff.
Oh,
so, yeah.
All right, we got to talk about that. Now, first, before we get carried away, not everybody knows who you are and what you do. So, for those who don't know who you are and what you do, who are you and what do you do?
Well, I'm a writer and the author of more than 40 books and novels now. Wow. And a lot of them, in horror and thrillers and things like that. And one of them is called Spider, spelled Spidar. And
doesn't make any difference how you spell it.
Well, either way, the spiders in that one are pretty bad. And my latest one is called The Revisionists, which is kind of a techno thriller about someone inventing technology that allows you to actually go back and change history and alter reality, and the very bad things that happen when you try to do that. And so I got a lot of books out there, and so that's my main thing. And I also happen to work in marketing, so I write for companies too. So but it's all marketing material. So that's just what I do for the day-to-day stuff to pay the bills. So and I live in Chicago, and with my wife Melanie, who's in the other room, probably wondering what I'm talking about in here, and our two dogs. So there you go. That's my whole life in a nutshell.
All right.
Well, he's got dogs, so he can't be all completely bad, I suppose.
Right? I mean, if he was a cat person, we'd have to worry.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah,
that would
exactly.
be
got the
trouble.
Don't have to worry.
choice. Yeah, you got the right
Cause
choice
for
there.
worry.
Yeah. Well, those cat people,
Now,
man.
now, in your marketing, you don't write these doofus clickbait headlines like "You won't believe what happened next."
No, I don't write those. Although
That's
we do lists sometimes. 5 things you should know about whatever, things like that. But no, I don't do the clickbait stuff.
I hate.
Maybe
those
I should. I don't know.
No,
Maybe
we had a marketing guy on here that writes copy, and he pretty much just, in a way, he writes some of that stuff, but it's clickbait. It works for a reason. It does kind of get the attention, but then again, it's like, man, how many?
Well, he's not a headline writer. He's a copywriter.
Yeah,
That's a different thing.
I mean, the company I work for now is a pest control company of all things, an international pet. Speaking of spiders, and
No.
I mean, perhaps that's the kind of thing we should use in the blogs we write. But I don't know. I'm leaving them and starting a new job in a whole new world away from pest control in a couple of weeks. So
Maybe they should give away copies of your book Spider.
I would prefer that. I would like them to buy, copies of that book in bulk and give them away.
Because it seems like it would keep customers coming back for more treatment, right? Because they don't want that shit happening.
yeah, I heard a rumor. Help me out here. I heard a rumor that if you buy a copy of Spider, the more copies of Spider you have in your home, the less chance you actually have a spider in your home. Like your book,
I believe that is 100% true. That is 100% true.
That's what I heard. I heard that from Becky.
That's right. Yeah, you never have to worry about spiders again if you have copies of my
Except
book.
the ones on the front cover.
Well, there are a few on the front cover, but they're
A few, my ass. There's a whole bunch of them.
Well, there are a heck of a lot more of them in the book, so but like a lot of them. So
it's
I was
only.
just reading the blurb about it, and oh my gosh, no.
Yes.
No.
Exactly.
We'll get into that book. We'll get into it in a little bit later. First, hold on. This I forgot to do. Got to frame it up. So not only are we talking about Bryan W. Alaspa, talk about this game out there called Horror Granny. Talk about American Horror Story 1984. Talk about this man throwing a baby off a balcony at the mall. Why? Well, we'll get to that. Caption contest, and maybe Becky will sing. If you want Becky to sing for us, say so in the chat.
Oh my!
If she's trying to back out. She's trying to back out, so don't let her back out. Okay. All right. So. All right. Let's see.
I'm so abused.
So, Mr. Alaspa, let's say I'm new to your work. Where should I begin?
Sure.
Where should I begin?
Oh gosh, that's hard for me to. I always think you should probably start with the newest one. It's because I think I get a little bit better at the writing every book that comes out. So the latest one is probably my best work. Although lately people seem to be buying up this book that I wrote and published about 4 years ago called The Man from Torrid, which is all about alternate realities and dimensions and hideous monsters lurking in those other dimensions. I don't really know why it suddenly has started to gain interest and people are buying up the books. I just appreciate that they are. I don't know if maybe people wish that there was an alternate dimension they could jump into right now. I'm not really sure. I think Becky maybe would like to jump into one now rather than deal with either spiders or singing at this point. So I don't know. I don't know. But so I guess if I had to make recommendations, I'd recommend that one and the latest one. And you can find all my stuff at the big evil Amazon place. and find all my books there. But I got a lot of stuff out there. I've got detective novels and horror stories and psychological thrillers, and I've even got some nonfiction out there. I write some true crime stuff, so there's a lot of stuff out there for everybody. So
All right.
it's all gruesome though. I don't write happy stories. So.
Okay, well, no need for that. We don't need more happy stories. We've got plenty of them.
No.
Oh, okay. So, which one of your novels will make me the most depressed, though?
Make you the most depressed?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, you say they're not happy stories. I'm just messing. I'm messing with you.
Well, I mean, I guess a lot of them have endings that are relatively happy compared to the horrible things that happen to the people, over the course of the book. But I would never say that I write, real uplifting things in general. But I did one that came out, I guess it was 2017, called Storyland. It's a psychological thriller. That one has a pretty downer ending to it,
man.
and I don't want to give away too much, but the newest one, The Revisionist, has an interesting ending too that not everybody's going to find to be particularly satisfactory. So, if I can tease that just a little bit, I can't say it would depress you, but it might. I don't know, maybe.
Okay, well, with all these books you mentioned, they're very interesting. I think the one I want to jump on first and go into would be the Man from Torrid.
Yep.
Okay, so you said this book is about a man who's jumping into other dimensions or something. What's going on with that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it gets I got the basic storyline from the urban legend of the Man from Torrid. I just kind of changed the timeline, and then the way the urban legend goes is a man walked into an airport in Tokyo in the 50s, and he just walked off the plane looking like every other businessman, and walked up to customs and handed over his passport. And when they asked him what country he was from, he said, well, he was from the country of Torrid. And everybody said, well, there is no such country. And he got really upset, and he produced a passport and a driver's license that was issued from this country. They put him in a room and started asking him, where is this country? We've never heard of it. He couldn't understand why. And he said, the country had been around for thousands of years, and it was very old, and it was part of Europe. And when they brought out a map, he was shocked to see that Torrid was not on the map, and he pointed to an area of Spain, saying, well, this is where the country should be. And then while there are couple of versions. One of them says that they didn't know what to do with him, so they got him a hotel room that night. Remember, it was the 50s, so, when the urban legend first came about. And he just disappeared from the room that he was in. And they never found him again. And another says that he was in the interrogation room, and the guys who were questioning him walked away, and then when they walked back into the room, he was gone. And so I just kind of changed it and set it in more modern times. And the airport he walks into is O'Hare, and imagined, basically that was where it starts. And we have an investigator from Homeland Security checking out this story of this man who disappears in an airport, and it kind of goes from there. It's probably the longest book I've written.
Hold on.
There's a lot of characters. So
is there any documentation behind this urban legend?
Yeah, I'm so
not
interested
that I'm
on
aware
this. Oh man,
not that I'm aware of. That's why I firmly place it in urban legend category, and I think that it's just that. People like to throw it out as an example of, well, there obviously are alternate dimensions. What about the Man from Torrid? And it's like, well, there's no evidence that actually ever happened. It's just a story, that's kind of passed around for a long time now. So. But I like to delve into those, and then the next logical step as a writer is, well, what if that were true? What if that really did happen, and what would happen next, and where would people go from there? So yeah, so it's like I said, it really kind of delves into a lot of things that have to do with alternate realities and dimensions and stuff. It's kind of a theme that I've gone back
Oh,
to a few
man.
times now in my work.
I
so.
mean, Becky, SK, is this the first you heard about this? Because I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, I'm very interested in this urban legend now. We need to do some digging. I mean,
Yeah,
I take it
definitely.
you've done a lot of research on this urban legend, right?
Oh yeah. I there are a few sites that have him out there. There's some YouTube videos. There's some several things out there about him, the man. But none of them really produce any kind of hard proof. It's all just like I heard from somebody who knew somebody, and this story was passed along to me by this person. That kind of stuff. So. But I just couldn't stop thinking about, well, what if that really happened? And then, someone had to try to figure out, well, what the hell happened at the airport here, and where did this guy go? And, in this day and age with security, people would be freaking out over a guy, walking in claiming to be from a country that doesn't exist, and then just disappearing. So,
so wait, so there's no photographs? Like, there's no photographs or
No.
Recordings or...
Nothing that I can find. So if they're, well, I'm sure the government has them, but they're just hiding.
Of course they do.
They're hiding us from us somewhere in Area 51 or something.
I'd look into the Yakuza first.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're somewhere, but no, I've never been able to find a photo of what the guy looks like or anything. So yeah. But,
yeah, because you said this happened in Japan, right? This took place in Japan?
Yeah, the urban legend has it happening at an airport in Tokyo, and as I said, it's in the 50s. So,
Yeah,
but
I don't know too much about how the government operates, but I can imagine just a shroud of secrecy, Yeah, if that is true, I don't think that information is going to get leaked out. Or it could be one giant troll op. What if the guy was just trolling them, just messing with them the whole time?
Well, maybe. I don't know, but where did he go? That was the thing. That's the other part of the legend, is that those who the story, the people who believe the story that they put him up in a hotel room, say that he was just they had a guard out front, and that all of a sudden he was just gone. His suitcase was gone, his clothes were gone, his bed had never been slept in. He just vanished as if he had never been there. So
sounds possible to me. Have you ever seen anime?
Yeah,
I mean, that seems pretty possible to me. In those Japanese cartoons.
Come on, Russians! Hello, Russians!
So I don't know.
It was the Russians.
Yeah, right. There you go. It was the Russians. But so and that just sort of intrigued me. And I have a book coming out this summer that's going to be a companion piece to that, because I invented this sort of fictional organization of these kind of interesting characters who have made it their job to try to protect the alternate realities, because within this framework of the story, you find out that the more you try to breach from one dimension to the other, the more you weaken the walls between those dimensions, and can bring the whole thing come tumbling down. And so there's this organization that I invented called Idea, that is sort of like the interdimensional law enforcement agency, and I bring some of those characters back in this book that's coming out later this summer. So if anybody has read the book and is actually wanting more, there's a little bit more coming probably later this year. So,
and you also have a Slender Man book.
I do. It's a novella. Yeah, it's it kind of went back.
So wait, this isn't the Slender Man book, the man from Torre, because on the cover it does look kind of like a Slender Man. You have an actual Slender Man.
There's also a Slender Man.
There is also a Slender Man.
This
book.
gets better. This keeps getting better. Okay. Tell us about the Slender Man book.
Also set in the 50s. What the hell?
Yeah, well, man from Torrid is not set in the 50s. The urban legend was.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
But
fair enough.
The Slender Man one, again, I started reading about him, and what I became fascinated with was that when he was originally created, his way of doing things, his modus operandi, it was definitely different when he was first sort of invented than what he is now. And so I wanted to kind of go back to that. And so for me to do that, I sort of made it a period piece. And I made it sort of a hard-boiled detective story to start with. I also combined the story of the Slenderman story I wrote with an actual true crime story here in Chicago, where two sisters known as the Grimes sisters vanished in the 1950s, and were missing for several days, and then ultimately their bodies were found in the woods, and it's still a mysterious, unsolved crime. And so I thought, well, what if I tied that to a Slenderman story, and I had these sisters vanish in the 50s. These two police detectives get involved in investigating and discover that there's this crazy supernatural, reason behind it. And honestly, in my estimation, it's probably the only thing I've ever written that actually scared me, and left me creeped out several days after completing the manuscript. And it still remains probably about the best reviewed book that I have out there right now. People seem to like it. Yeah. So I'm pretty proud of that one. So, and yeah, it's got a strange name. It's called Strange Fruit and the Slender Man, and the whole strange fruit aspect gets explained within the course of the book. So, because Slender Man, when he started, the urban legend was he would appear to children and young people, and they would disappear, and then they would often be found in the woods, often impaled on tree limbs.
Whoa.
There would be no blood, and when the bodies were autopsied, the medical examiner said it looks like they have been opened up, all of their organs removed, and then placed back in the body. Again, again with no blood.
No,
so,
I got some questions. Huh. First, didn't Slender Man okay, I heard Slender Man originated off just like a creepy pasta.
Yes, that is true.
Okay.
That is true. He starts as a creepypasta. I, in the course of the book, made him older than that, but he did actually start as a creepypasta. But like I said, the legend originally was this creature who went after people, and then it evolved very quickly into him doing other things and being able to control people, and driving them insane, and doing things like that. So I combined multiple elements of that into it, but it was definitely it was a story I wrote that where a lot of the images that ended up in the book were very crystal clear to me when I was writing
this
it.
This is so interesting.
And it was sort of
like, it really is interesting because I had this. Okay, I was like, man, I bet you this came from some sort of legend, some sort of urban legend. But when I look it up, like Slenderman, like urban legend, of course it brings up the video game, it brings up the creepypasta. Yes. I'm like, no, I want to dig deeper. But it's like, and then of course talks about the girls that like stabbed the one girl nearly to death, or
right,
in the name of Slenderman. It's like, come on. So I mean, I take it you did your research though, like you found.
Yes, I definitely did. And again, the whole Slenderman story has changed since the book came out. With those two girls up in Wisconsin who had this whole idea about if they killed their classmate, they would, I don't know, be taken somewhere by Slenderman. I mean, that whole aspect of things was new to the legend. So. I've seen this description before, and I think it's very true. Is that Slenderman is the first real, like modern, internet created monster. Mary Shelley created Frankenstein, and Bram Stoker invented Dracula, and there are all these old
Lovecraft,
monsters.
Cthulhu, and then you
Yeah,
got
exactly.
okay.
And Slender Man was created on the internet, and it was the first one. And I think because of that, his legend, the urban legend behind him, changes faster and grows faster than a lot of the other ones. And so it just seems like every time you do research now on the whole Slender Man thing, he does something else or behaves in a different way than he did just last week. It's very strange. So it's probably even very different than when I wrote the book too. And of course, I threw in my own weird little things to the whole legend too. So hopefully, I don't know if they've ever been picked up, but by other people. But that one does pretty well for me because people seem to like it, and I find it genuinely scary. And I got an audiobook version of that produced a couple of years ago too. That did pretty well. So that was people seem to like listening to someone tell that creepy story. So,
Well, that's so.
But I used to go out and walk the dogs at night and would get scared, be like, "What is that over there? What is in the trees? What is that?" Yeah. So,
No.
No.
It's
No,
creepy.
Becky.
No.
Becky, are you afraid of the Slender Man? He's just a man wearing a suit. He's just a man in a fine suit.
He probably has spiders, damn it.
So he has no face, and he does have tentacles that come out of his back. But other than that, he's just a guy in a suit.
Yeah, he's Cthulhu.
So he's like
in
a spider
suit.
dude, pretty much.
Well, tentacles, not
Yeah.
spider legs, but yeah.
Tentacles, spider legs, whatever. Potato,
the same.
patata. Yeah.
About
No.
the same. Might as well just be the same.
No.
Hey, Becky,
He's got far too
Yeah.
many appendages. That's all you know. Yeah.
You know what, Becky? You've never played the game, have you?
What game?
The Slenderman game. Oh, that would
No.
freak you out. That would freak you out. Becky, you would be screaming. We gotta live stream that. Becky would be screaming out of her mind. She wouldn't want to play anymore. She wouldn't want to play. She'd be freaking out.
Oh my gosh.
Over a game?
Oh, it's not just any game. It's one of those horror games, like those like hide and seek games. Is like
Oh.
you don't want the guy to get you, right? You don't want to die.
It's a game.
Not if you get into it. Not if. Speaking of games. I'm glad this came up. We gotta talk about this game called Granny real fast. Quick segue.
Okay.
Quick segue. This is
That's
not.
pretty freaky, though.
It is. It's a hide and seek game. That's one way to describe it. All you have to do in this game is get out of a 2-story house. All you have to do is get out. That's it. Just get out of the house. But the problem is the front door is like locked with all these like padlocks and boards and stuff. And anytime you make a noise, like it alerts the granny. This granny thing, this old woman, and she comes to you and she hits you with a bat to eat you. So it's like, man, how hard can this game be?
She eats you?
Well, that's what she wants to do. She wants to cannibalize on you, She wants that, I guess.
Oh, Granny. Jeez.
Yeah.
Granny
Crazy
ain't
stuff.
got no teeth. You'll be fine.
No,
She'll just gum you good.
One thing I'll do is let me put on the Windows capture real fast. Let me play it in the background. Now the graphics aren't anything amazing. They're kind of meh. They're kind of like we've seen this before, but
They're hokey, yeah.
yeah. But it's the I guess the fact that you're being chased. You're being chased by something that pretty much kill you one hit, and you can't see anything really. Like your vision's pretty narrow. There's a lot of corners and stuff. A lot of walls that you can pop. There's a lot of jump scares. But if you're trying to beat it, SK, if you're like, man, I'm going to try to beat this game, try to beat it, it messes with you. You know what? I want to see
If that
SK try
thing
to play
pops
this.
out, I'm screaming. I'm telling you.
This guy, he plays it on extreme difficulty. That's what he's doing. And it's a long video. It's like 20 minutes, so we can talk about something else while this is playing.
Here, I have a theory.
Sure.
It just occurred to me.
Oh, crap.
It just occurred to me. You can tell it might be completely bogus. But do you suppose that people who get more as you say, sucked into horror stories, you know, where it really gets to them, that they haven't had much real life horror happen to them.
Mm.
That the people who have experienced, you know, some real shit in their lives, they're less freaked out by pretend.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I've seen some horror stories. I mean, I worked at a psych facility. And I've seen people like cut into their own gut. I mean, well,
Whoa.
that's exaggerating it a little bit. I mean, she did have a hole in her chest, in her gut, and her abdomen, and she was like, I could feel
Gross.
the other side of it. Now, granted, it wasn't happening to me directly, but I was, you know, had to like restrain her and hold her down while the doctor hit her up with what we call like booty juice or you know, chemical restraint. But you know what, you have a point, SK. Like, I haven't seen like I mean, I don't know. Like what sort of trauma are we talking about? Talking about like,
Well, I mean stuff that really like scares you in real life.
like getting shot at.
I don't know. Would that scare you?
Oh, wouldn't it? No, I think it would.
I'm not assuming.
I mean, I would think it would. You know?
It'd scare me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
I have some breaking news if y'all want to know.
Sure. What's the breaking news?
Man arrested after carrying gasoline cans into St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Uh-oh.
Is this trying to start another fire?
Yep.
What the hell? What?
Man lugging 2 cans of gasoline strode into historic St. Patrick's Cathedral in Midtown on Wednesday and was collared by 2 NYPD counterterrorism officers.
Whoa.
The man is 37 years old and he might be emotionally disturbed. Also carried a lighter on him. He entered the cathedral about 5 p.m. with the cans of gas, and an usher stopped him to talk to him, and the police officers assigned to the cathedral stepped in to take him into custody.
Wow.
At the same time, did they find? I mean, hold on. Was he inspired by the Notre Dame thing, or what the hell?
I don't know.
What's happening?
You
here?
know, people are just fucked in the head, and
well, that's
they're gonna,
true. That's true.
You know,
there's that.
I want to get that cross stitched on a pillow. People are just fucked in the head.
Well, yeah, it has to start with the well. Well, you see, people are just fucked in the head. That's it. That
about covers it.
Yeah, that might be the response for all these news stories. So that's incredible, incredibly stupid. I mean, what the hell? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the other story today was some woman who flew from Miami, Florida to Denver, Colorado, because she was obsessed with Columbine, and they thought she was going to go to the school.
Threats.
Yeah, made threats, and then they found her dead in the woods from a self-inflicted gunshot wound today. So,
oh my God.
At least the crazy took care of itself. And I mean,
yeah.
That's horrible, though. Like, what? So she was obsessed with the Columbine school.
Yes.
So she wanted to do it. What were you saying? There's
basically
Columbine Part 2 or something. What was she saying?
Apparently, that's what it seems like. She would talk about it constantly. They kept calling her she was a senior in high school at some school in Miami, and then they would show her a photo, and I swear to God, that was a 40-year-old woman. I don't know why they kept saying that.
They kept saying teenager, and I'm like, where's the teenager? This is an old lady.
Yeah, she's a senior. She's a senior. I'm like, what school is she a senior? So, but she apparently talked about it all the time and was obsessed with Columbine, and flew all the way to Denver and bought a gun when she got there in Colorado, and a shotgun, and was headed out towards Columbine, I guess. Ended up somehow in the woods.
She just Kurt Cobain herself is what you're saying.
Basically.
Okay. Did she shoot up heroin too?
That I don't know.
Might as well.
I haven't heard about I haven't heard the toxicology report yet. So.
I mean, I can't imagine a 43-year-old woman just that obsessed with Columbine. I would imagine a survivor of Columbine being obsessed with Columbine.
But she's not 43. That's the thing.
That's just it. Supposedly she's only 18 years old, even though she looks 43. It's crazy.
Oh, okay.
By the way, I don't mean to imply that 43 is an old woman.
Oh, I was doing it though. I'm just joking.
Just in comparison to an 18-year-old.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes. The number is higher.
Oh my God. Wes just sent us another news story.
Oh, someone's asking for me to take off my shirt. That is earned, ma'am. That is earned now. My pimp has told me that I have to make that earned.
We have defined what Jesse is. Now you have to negotiate the price.
Wow. Yeah. Pretty much, essentially. Oh man. So wait, what about this kid being flung off the balcony? This baby.
Oh my God. So
that happened in the Mall of America.
Yeah.
Mall of America, and this guy, this motherfucker, walks up to this family, grabs their 5-year-old, hurls him over the edge.
It wasn't even his kid? Not like it would make it any better.
No, it was strangers.
They didn't even know him.
They didn't know him. They're waiting to get into a restaurant.
Yep.
He'd already been banned from the mall, by the way.
And I think he was originally from Chicago.
I don't know if I've heard the Chicago connection, but yeah, supposedly the mother and the kid were waiting in line, and he walked up, and the mother said, "Are we in your way?" And he just grabbed the kid and threw him over the balcony. But he also has said now that he was there the day before. He kept coming to the mall looking to kill somebody, he said, and he was gonna try to do it the day before, and it didn't work out. And
he was upset about not being able to pick up women.
Yeah.
Getting rejected by women.
Well, then deal with it yourself.
Maybe they thought he'd throw them over the balcony. I don't know.
Maybe
that can come across in a very brief conversation. I just say.
Yeah.
If you're giving off that kind of vibe, you're gonna have tough sledding in the dating group.
I would imagine so. And I would imagine he did give off that kind of vibe, because if he's that level of crazy to where they banned him from the mall, and then he said he wanted to go to the mall looking to kill someone because he couldn't pick up chicks at that mall, he's fucking crazy. Look, those sort of people who are wanting to do that, they should just throw themselves off a balcony. They should just throw themselves. They should do what
he was arrested.
Take a page from the Miami chick who shot herself first.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what you do. You go out in the
woods.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was arrested in 2015 at that mall for and had 3 charges against him when he threw an object off the 3rd floor and became uncooperative with the police.
That's just.
And in 2014, he assaulted somebody in a restaurant.
Yeah. He wanted her to buy him something, and he threw glass at her.
This is a different incident that I'm looking at.
Oh, wow.
Where it was a golden nugget, and somebody next to him wanted to move because he smelled bad.
Oh,
jeez. He got pissed, and he smacked the guy over the head with a plate and then tried to stab him. Several times. So this guy's really messed up in the head.
Yeah.
Wow.
He should have been just locked up indefinitely. Where's Judge Dredd when you freaking need him? Where's Judge... Man, I kid you not, based on what I've heard so far, if a cop would have just shot this guy on sight, I don't think anyone would be upset. Right? I mean, is there a problem?
His mama might.
Well, I mean, his mom. Everyone. Well, yeah, his mom would, but then everyone would be like, "Come on, mom. Come on. You know your son. You know your son messed up."
Come
She'd
on.
be like, "But he's my baby. He's my baby."
How's a boy supposed to get a date?
It's those women. All the twerking and
yeah.
the devil music. I don't know. You know, it's like, yeah, I don't
Oh
know.
my
man.
lord.
Let me tell you, going to jail really puts a crimp in your dating plans.
Gives you a
Are you
whole new
speaking from
perspective.
experience?
with women.
No, you said this guy's from Chicago, right?
That's what it's according to this article on the other attack. It says
Wow, I hadn't heard that.
his native Chicago.
Me neither.
Jesse Smollett is from Chicago. Is in Chicago.
Yes.
You think they had the same prosecutor? You think he got off light? You think that's why he was able to do this?
I don't think so. But, well, so many of these incidents I thought had taken place in the same mall. So he
Yep.
must have been
What?
living up in Minneapolis.
Oh,
He got an 18-month suspended sentence with supervision,
Wow.
and this was 5 years ago.
man.
I mean, this is a guy who really wants to go to jail.
This is a guy who really wants to be eliminated from this world. Yeah.
Well, do you want one more story that'll make your jaw hit the floor?
Yeah, if I'm not
Sure.
raging. I mean, I'm trying to hold back the profanity. Just a little bit.
Oh,
Just a little bit.
this won't make you be profane, but this will make you laugh.
Uh-huh. What is it?
Okay, you listening? Listen, because I'm not reading this but once.
Okay.
15 boys contract rabies after having sex with a donkey.
Oh Lord.
What the hell? A donkey show is when a woman's having sex with a donkey. What are these 15 boys doing with a donkey? What the hell?
Oh,
And that's my takeaway
If I
from
need to
that.
explain it to you, then we have a problem.
What? Okay. Well, why is anyone actually having sex with a donkey? Why is anyone having sex
Well,
with a donkey?
I don't really know the answer to that.
Why?
Oh my God.
I didn't know that's how. Honest to God, I did not know that rabies could be transmitted in such a fashion.
Yeah, I did not know it would be transmitted.
I always
wait,
thought it
either.
was like getting bit. Right? Isn't that
Wow.
how
Yeah,
you
that's
typically
what I
think
thought.
Yeah.
of getting bit by a raccoon or some shit?
Yeah. Yeah. You would
Oh,
think
maybe the
it's-
donkey was a biter.
Oh my God.
Oh my god, I can't believe you said that. That's
You
so
learn
good.
stuff. You learn stuff. I mean, okay, so think about all the stuff you write. And would you imagine something like this? Could you even imagine
No.
something like this in your story?
I was just thinking though, but boy, there's an interesting start to a new book.
Yeah, right. I mean-
The zombie invasion starts
Yeah,
with
Everybody wants to blame the government, but it's
Yep.
just some horny teenage boys.
horny
Horny
teenage boys
in Tijuana.
going after donkeys.
I mean,
Um,
Oh my.
actually, it's in Morocco.
in Morocco. Oh, okay.
Well, there
Well,
you go.
They have other.
I don't know.
problems.
I don't know what that.
Teenagers from a small village were hospitalized and treated for rabies earlier last week after contracting the disease when they gang raped a local donkey.
Oh my
Gang-
God.
Gang rape.
Okay, first of all, the poor donkey. Jesus. Come
Oh,
on, people. Animals
What?
have feelings. That's not
Where's
nice.
PETA?
They
I mean,
they put the donkey down.
Oh,
Well,
they might
because
as
of rabies.
well. They might as well. Would you want to be that donkey? Oh man.
Hell no, I wouldn't want to be the donkey.
oh
Oh,
I'd have bit
God.
him too.
Mm-mm.
Just this
Would you
month,
have given
an
him rabies?
Arkansas man was arrested for having sex with a family's pet donkey. What the hell?
Family's
what is
pet.
the deal with donkeys?
I don't know,
I
man.
don't know, but why are men having sex with donkeys? I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go
that's-
ahead. And back to the book.
That is
Wow.
insane in the membrane right there. I don't even know, man. We reached the end. Like how can you get any
That-
more?
Do not ask that
No.
question.
It's
Not
time.
ask that question.
It's time to wipe the slate clean at this point. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's start over. Shake the
Yeah.
etch a sketch. Let's go. Start
Yeah.
over.
Just shake it. Cthulhu, wake up. Eradicate us
That's
all.
right.
Slender Man, maybe you need to start franchising out and work harder or
Maybe.
something, because dang, too slow.
Jeez.
Okay.
Brian, which one of your books is your favorite one that you've written so far?
Oh my gosh, that is so hard to say. They are all, sort of like, I don't know. It's too corny to say like my kids, but I do feel like I put
No,
so
it's
much
not.
effort. It's hard to pick one. But so again, I usually tell people probably the one that's the newest is probably my favorite. Although, again, Man from Tard is a pretty special book to me. I did a kind of a vanishing hitchhiker story called Sapphire a few years ago. That was pretty good too. And I actually have one of my favorites right now is one that I wrote that is currently not out because I'm shopping it around to some publishers.
Oh, cool.
And that's called Black River. But that one hopefully will be out later, maybe this year or early next year. So, but I'm also pretty fond of my. I have a detective named Declan Falls, and I have 3 books featuring him. That are out there, and I kind of like the arc, the little 3-book arc I did with him, and maybe revisit him at some point because it was very different. I could just easily slip it into his little world pretty easily and start immediately thinking in those hard-boiled detective sort of phrases like like you see in the movies from the 40s and stuff. So
Okay.
it was kind of fun to do.
Cool.
Okay.
So I'm looking at. Can I ask? I'm looking
Sure.
at this book, Sabotage, which is a true crime story.
Yes, it is.
Tell
Yes.
us about this.
There was in the 1930s, right as passenger flights and airlines were first coming into being.
Right.
There was a plane that left New York and was going to sort of hop its way across the country to California, because that's how they did it back then. In those planes, you couldn't just get a direct flight from New York to Los Angeles. It would
They
have to
didn't
make
have the
several
range.
stops.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when it landed in Cleveland, and when it took off again from Cleveland and was heading towards Chicago, it exploded over Chesterton, Indiana, and crashed and killed everybody on board, 7 people. And it was determined later that there was a bomb on board. So it was the very first time that an explosive was used to bring down a commercial airliner, if you want to call it that.
Well, that didn't take very long, did it?
Yeah. So, and so I actually, I'd done a few collections of true crime stories in the Chicago area and found this one, and it didn't fit in well with any of the other sort of collections I was writing, and so I decided it needed its own book, and I actually submitted a Freedom of Information Act request to the FBI because they were the
Really?
ones who investigated it, asking for the file on this, and they sent it to me. And so I had this huge, thick file full of all these notes, and there were little handwritten notes in the side from J. Edgar Hoover and Melvin Purvis, who, of course, is credited with bringing down John Dillinger. He was the investigator, the chief investigator for this. And it was just interesting to read how they interviewed the suspects and some of the the early forensics they were using to determine that it was an explosive and where the explosive had been placed. And there are quite a few suspects, and nobody's ever been arrested for it. It's still this big
Wow.
unsolved mystery. Yeah. That one got me interviewed on the local news station because we passed up I believe it was the 80th anniversary of the crash a while back. So
Yeah.
that was interesting. So yeah, it's just one of those crimes where I couldn't believe nobody had written about it before, and so I thought, well, I might as well be the one to do it, and so yeah.
Wow, and the FBI gave you the file. You were actually able to do the extensive research.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was all photocopied and stuff, but definitely the notes and the file and the everything that was filed by the agents who were out doing interviews and trying to figure out what happened. I mean, it's interesting because, of course, it exploded and there were pieces all over the fields and
Mm-hmm.
so many people heard it happening. They kind of looked up in the sky and there was this burning wreckage falling down, and a lot of a lot of families in rural Indiana said, "Let's get in the car and go see the plane crash." And so
Right.
they woke their family up, got in the car, and they went and walked out in the field, and they would pick up pieces of the plane and
Oh, yeah.
things like that, take it home, and
Yeah.
there was just no way to secure the scene. So who knows what evidence might have walked off with someone, years later. I actually put ads in some local Indiana papers and got a couple of people who responded. Unfortunately, they didn't have much to add. It was a lot of, my grandfather was, 10 years old when that happened, and he remembers my grandfather waking him up and taking him, to see where the plane crash was, and seeing, debris in the trees. And then it was like, well, you're not really adding too much to the story, but thank you for replying. So, it was, it's interesting. There were still occasionally some people around who had been there and seen some things, although most of them were pretty young at the time. So, what they could really remember was pretty limited. But anyway, it's one of those sort of untold stories out there. At the time when I was promoting it too, I tried to hype on the fact that the first act of terrorism, if you want to call it that, on an airliner happened in the 30s. I bet you didn't know that. So
Well, it's
it was
definitely
kind of
domestic. Definitely domestic terrorism. I mean,
yeah,
right?
definitely, yeah. I mean, and at the time that the pilots were trying to unionize, but there were a lot of opposition to that from the airlines, and so my theory is that it actually had more to do with that, because that was back in a time where unions would strike, and they would send in the police who would just open fire on the protesters and gun people down. So I could totally see it being someone deciding that they're trying to discredit the airlines in some way, shape, or form, and and blowing the thing up and killing people. I don't know. It's just there's a few theories floating out there, but and a few good suspects, but there just was never enough evidence to.
Gotcha. No, have you done this level of research with your other books? I mean, is there one where you actually maybe you've even done more?
No, well, I mean, I probably the first book that I wrote that really got published by a publisher was one called Ghosts of St. Louis, The Lemp Mansion and Other Eerie Tales, and that just happened to be I'd made some connections with some other writers, and somebody said, hey, this publisher out in Pennsylvania is looking for people to write about haunted houses and big American cities, and I had lived in St. Louis. I went to college there. I'm originally from Chicago. They already had somebody who was writing about Chicago haunted houses, and I said, well, I lived in St. Louis. I know about a bunch of haunted houses there, and they agreed to give me a contract. And so I started researching the Lemp Mansion, and which is one of these, everybody claims to have the quote unquote most haunted place in the country. Right. And this is one of those places, and it's a bed and breakfast. And so I spent the night there. I went there with some friends, and we spent the night. And there was a woman who claimed to be a medium, and she kind of walked around the house with us. And I sadly Lemps, that was the name of the family, Lemp, and they sadly none of them manifested and agreed to sit down for an interview. But I saw a lot of weird things, lights flashing, weird little shadows and things moving out of the corner of my eye. It was not very easy to get any sleep. But it's a very beautiful old house in St. Louis, right across the highway from the Anheuser Brewing, Anheuser-Busch Brewery. And it's just I became kind of obsessed with the whole Lemp family because one after another, the eldest sons and the sort of the heirs to the fortune, because the Lemps were brewers too. They were really the first to start using refrigeration to bring lager style beer to the rest of the country, and they had their own.
I didn't know that.
Beer there, and they would use these limestone caves below the brewery before refrigeration was really a thing, to keep it cold and stuff like that. So they had this huge mansion, and then they used the limestone caves under that to build. There was like a movie theater and a bowling alley and a pool built underneath the house, and they were like one of the richest families in America. And then Prohibition came, and they just kind of shut everything down and vanished into obscurity. But one by one, the eldest sons all killed themselves.
Wow. They were like a frame job. They think it was framed.
I don't know. I think, like, for example, Billy Lemp was one of the biggest characters, and he really was running the company in its heyday, and he killed himself. And when I was reading about him, I thought, to me, sounds like a guy who these days would be diagnosed as being bipolar. He would through these periods where he was manic, and he would build things to the house and add things to the factory and build more things down in the caves beneath, and then he'd go into these long depressions, and finally one of the depressions got him, and he killed himself.
Maybe.
So
they were all about the same age too, weren't they?
Yeah. And then the house got passed over to different owners. It became a boarding house at one time, kind of a flop house kind of thing, where poor people lived, and they sectioned off the rooms to make multiple rooms so that people could live in it, and more people died there, and so it's considered extremely haunted. And so that was definitely going and trying to experience something in person, and I think those are probably the two of the most extensive ones. Most of the other stuff is just a lot of library research and looking for things. So.
All right. So, with your experience with writing and publishing, now have you self-published?
Oh yes, yeah. Most of my fiction is self-published. The nonfiction stuff tends to be published by other people. I don't know why.
Okay, so now do you have fiction that's published by a traditional publisher or by an indie press?
Yes, I have worked with them, and the Spider book is published by Beacon Publishing. That was the one I
the Becky book.
Yeah.
So how does it compare in your perspective, from your experience? I mean, how does it compare?
I like working with small presses because it sort of spreads out a lot of the work that comes after you write the book, the marketing aspect of things. When you self-publish, even though I work in marketing, I spending all my spare time trying to market my own stuff is not always the most fun thing. I always want to go on to the next book, the next project. So that can be somewhat frustrating, to do all that. So I like when I work with a small press or even just a publisher, because then the marketing aspect gets spread out, and there are people at that company who have a vested interest in selling the book as much as I have an interest in selling it, because they make a portion of the royalties as well, and so that just sort of, like I said, it spreads it out, and so it's not all on my shoulders. Working with the small press publishers for the nonfiction has been good, because they can get my books into stores much easier than I can get self-published works into stores. So that Lemp Mansion book is for sale at the Missouri State History Museum in St. Louis in the gift shop.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Wow.
Places like that. So
Nice.
I wrote a book called what was it called? It was a collection of odd tales set in the state of Illinois. Forgotten Tales of Illinois, I think it's called, and it was some true crime stuff, some urban legend
Apparently
stuff. Some,
really forgotten.
yeah, I can't even remember it. And lo and behold, it's for sale in the store portion of the Cracker Barrel just down the street from my house. I walked in there, my wife and I night for dinner. We're walking around the store, and I go, "Oh my God, that's my book sitting right there."
That's got to be cool.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I wonder if Stephen King still does it. He probably does, so it's probably not that weird. But
he probably sees his book everywhere.
When there were more bookstores, I could walk into a Borders and find some of my true crime books and things like that on the shelf. If I was with a friend, I would take a photo of me with the book, and I'm like, this is so nerdy, but it's very exciting to see your book on a shelf, and you never quite get tired of it. So.
Okay, now I have to ask, since you mentioned the spider book again, why is it spelled the way it is?
Well, it's an acronym like SCUBA, self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Now you're going to probably want to know what it stands for, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. It's
well, I don't see a B anywhere, so it's not specific to Becky, but it's
no. It's and trust me, I had to work hard to come up with an acronym that worked for Spider, and I couldn't come up with one that worked with an E, so I tried other vowels until I found one that worked. And it stands for Specific Protocols for Invasive Drones, Adaptive Response. That's what it stands for.
Okay.
And
so these are like drone spiders?
Basically, yes. It's one of these things where, well, first of all, you should look up the town of Whittier, Whittier, Alaska. It is a town right in one of Alaska's bays, and it's separated from Anchorage by a mountain range, and there is a tunnel that is a road and a train track that connects it to the rest of Alaska, and that tunnel has to close down at certain points of the night. The military used it at one time and built huge barracks that are like giant apartment buildings there. And now they eventually abandoned it. And now a few hundred people live in these buildings, these towers. And those buildings have a store, a hospital, a police department, fire department, entertainment. So most of the people who live there hardly ever actually go outside. Very rarely go outside. It's all contained within these buildings. And there's a very short summer time when it actually gets kind of warm there, and then they have these really long winters, and so it takes a very unique kind of person to live in Whittier, Alaska. So I became fascinated at this idea of these people sort of self-contained and trapped in this building and all living there and everything there, and I thought, well, what horrible thing could I throw in there that would make an interesting book? And I became obsessed with this idea of these spiders being experimented on by, of course, the government, and them trying to basically program spiders, the insects, really, looking at different insects to see which would work best. And having now worked at a pest control company, I knew a lot about spiders, and I thought, well, what if you could create a programmable spider that you could actually like use it to listen in on something, and you just kind of be up the corner sitting there. And
I like that idea.
No.
Within the course of the story, the problem is to create these spiders. These spiders are essentially like little cyborgs, and they made them too well. And so the scientists who are working at this facility, which are just across this bay, combine and genetically engineer these spiders and add electronic elements to them to make them programmable. And the problem is they want them to also to be able to adapt to each situation they're in, so that they can change and alter so that they can continue to provide information and whatnot. And so the problem is they adapt too fast and they become essentially smart spiders. And one of the things that they do is they sorry, Becky, they paralyze people and crawl inside through the nose.
Whoa! These spiders are so small they can fit through the nose.
Yes, they can, and they are, and they can. Well, first of all, spiders can get pretty small, but yes, they can fit in through the nose, and some of them go down the mouth, and they can actually gain control of a person's body in a lot of ways, which actually does happen in the insect world. There are insects that can gain control of other insects. It's just that these are super smart spider cyborgs, and so. And then more spiders go down and lay eggs inside the body of the person they're controlling, and then they eventually burst out of them, just hundreds and hundreds of spiders, and they can adapt for each situation. So, during the course of
do you get any cool perks though if like a spider takes you over? Like I'm trying to weigh the pros and
to it.
Yeah, I'm trying to weigh the pros and cons.
Yeah, your fart and web comes out your butt.
That's cool.
Sadly, you do not become Spider-Man. You do not get to crawl on the walls or anything. It's all bad. I'm sorry to say.
Wait. Define bad, because if you fart a spider web, that's pretty cool.
Sadly, I did not include them farting spider webs. No,
okay.
I'm still stuck on this concept about something that was made too well. It's
like an AI thing?
Science fiction.
Yeah, I mean, it basically gets they make it to the point where it becomes smarter than the scientists who made it. So, and there's a lot of different spiders, and throughout the course of the story, they have different characteristics and different sizes, and they get bigger as the story goes on too. So,
and these spiders that they're using, are they still part biological, or are they all just mechanical, like 100% mechanical?
By the end, they become. I don't want to give too much away. By the end, they become almost entirely mechanical, and again, that is because they adapt to each situation. So. They can reproduce so fast they can adapt to the situation. So if a character in the book ends up coming and killing a huge number of them with this chemical spray that he has, and so they adapt to that by getting inside someone else. And when those eggs hatch, they're almost entirely made out of metal and are entirely mechanical. So the spray doesn't work on them anymore. So that's how they adapt.
Oh,
so that's
of course.
Okay.
Aspect.
So the guest before you was also into pest control. Let me ask you: would you rather be in a house infested with roaches or in a house infested with spiders?
Oh my god!
Oh man!
You got to spend a week in that house.
Jeez.
Where's the house located?
Naked.
In Alaska. It's located in Alaska.
Oh, okay.
It's Alaska.
That's easy.
I guess. Oh man, that's tough. I guess I would.
Naked with no shoes.
I guess I'd have to pick the cockroaches, just because even though spiders don't actively want to bite you, if there were enough of them, they probably would bite, and I don't want to get bitten. Although roaches have been known to bite people too if the infestation is bad enough. But,
yes. Roaches
will nibble on your fingernails and your eyelashes.
Oh.
No.
Jesse and I have this deal. I get rid of the roaches, he gets rid of the spiders. It works perfectly.
I do not like roaches. I'll take the spiders.
Yeah.
I'll take my chance with the spiders, and I will for a whole week just ball up and be like, "Don't bite too hard." And that's it.
They'll crawl all over your butt.
I'll pee on myself.
Interesting. Working at the pest
I don't
control
care.
place and researching and writing about spiders,
Pee on myself.
I've gone from having some arachnophobia of my own to developing a healthy respect for spiders. They're actually kind of cool if you study them. I wrote a really long blog article that tried to answer every question I could come up with about tarantulas.
Yeah.
And it was one of the more fun blogs I ever wrote. I found them particularly fascinating because they're vastly misunderstood. Tarantulas are like the least likely to bite you spider out there. They're just really big and really hairy.
I don't care. They got legs and they will be on me. And no,
Becky,
I'm not worried about getting
Becky,
bit.
Becky.
No.
No, this is not about spiders. This is about fundraising, and I just came up with a great fundraiser for us.
Oh shit!
And it's not you.
Okay.
It's Jesse in a jar of cockroaches on his bare belly.
Oh
no!
You
Yeah,
shouldn't do that to
people will
Jesse.
pay for that.
No.
I'm
No.
not. I would not do
No.
that to him.
No.
Oh my
I
God.
would not do that. They say everyone has a price.
Oh, come on.
They say everyone has a price. I don't know. What that price would be.
No, I would not do that to him because I don't think that he would take bets on whether I would hold a spider to make money for us.
Mm,
Come on,
you?
Jesse.
What do you mean?
Becky, what's your price? What's your price? 2 billion?
What to hold us? To hold a spider?
2 billion.
There is not.
$2 billion. $2 billion cash, and you don't even have to pay any taxes. No gift tax or anything. Okay.
How long do I have to hold it?
See, now you're thinking.
No,
You're talking about $2
Not
billion.
really.
Now the negotiation begins.
Okay, the money is not anything that I want. If I could
Money's
pick
not
some
anything you
other
want?
things that I'd like to have.
You need money to get those
A
things.
If
solid-
there's some other.
You have to hold it for a solid minute at least, I think.
Yeah,
That's
that's what I was thinking.
You wouldn't even hold it for a solid minute for
Absolutely
$2
not.
billion? Oz?
No.
Oh, do I even want to finish that
Seriously.
statement? I was gonna say I would sit in a hot tub full of roaches for a day for $2 billion, but I'm just
Oh yeah.
you're sitting
No.
there like, oh,
Absolutely not.
I'd be crying the whole time. I'd be like,
Think
I
of all
would
the
be
therapy you
videotaping
could
it, too.
afford.
it's
Yeah,
for the money.
my mom wouldn't be caring about you having your crack waxed now.
I'd be
I'd be
like,
bitching
Mama,
for sitting in bugs.
but Mama's for $2 billion. It's for $2 billion.
Oh my God.
It's for the family. I'm doing it for the family.
You're full of shit.
Oh man. Okay.
There
well,
are some really cool insects out there. There are some very cool ones that I actually think are pretty neat. Like the praying mantis is probably my favorite insect in the world. They're
Oh, those
very
are
very
cool.
cool. Very cool. So if I had to come back as an insect, I'd want to come back as a praying mantis because they're just
that'd be
badass.
cool, but not as a male though, right?
I want to be a butterfly.
But you wouldn't want to come back
probably
as
not.
You wouldn't come back as a male.
Probably
praying
not.
mantis.
No, I'd have to come back as a female praying mantis.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not much fun for the guys.
No.
Yeah, no, not so much.
I don't understand how they even continue. Like the men they just die.
Yeah.
They give it their all. You know.
That happens a lot in the insect world. The men tend to not survive much in the insect world. It's a very female-dominated world in the
Nobody
insect.
worries about a black widower.
No, exactly.
No.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. And you always read it when you're researching the insect you need to write about. And it's always like the females can grow to 2 inches in length. The males much smaller. They're always smaller. They're always eaten by the female.
By the females. Mm-hmm.
Bad.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't you glad that you're not? That humans don't do that. That would be so gross.
It's coming though, Becky. It's coming.
No,
It's
it is
coming.
not.
Give
It
it
ain't
about
happening.
5-10 more years.
No.
It's coming. Yeah.
No.
Women will just
No.
dominate everything. You'll see. And men will let it. And men will be in a corner. Men will be like Gents. I don't know what future this is. Okay.
And of course, the deadliest animal in the world is an insect. I'll just throw that out there too. So, mosquito. The mosquito is actually.
Oh, as far as number of deaths, absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, mosquitoes.
It kills more people than anything.
And you know what? And spiders kill mosquitoes, Becky. If we didn't have these, come on, right? Spiders tell
Right.
Jesse, if I don't see them and they're not in my home, I don't care.
Oh.
But if I used to always want to go to Australia until I found out that they had a spider as big as a dinner plate there, and then the answer is fuck no.
Every list of the top 100 deadliest whatever
is in Australia.
in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
It's like an entire continent that just wants to kill people.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everything there can kill you. It's unbelievable. Even the platypus.
Even the women. Even the women. Don't trust them. Okay. Now before
You got to do the caption contest.
Yeah, before we do the capture contest, in your favorite horror movie, I do want to ask you real quick. Okay, so you're making money. You're making a living off your writing, right? Or that's what got.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to. Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Now, for those that are struggling, because a lot of writers listen to this show, and of course they're like, "How come I'm not paying my bills with my money? How come I'm not making money?" Do you have any advice for them, real fast?
Well, I will say I will quantify it by saying that the real money that I make is with the day job in writing the marketing stuff. That's where I primarily make the money. But I do make a very nice side income with the writing and the book publishing, and I can say that all I can say to writers is you got to keep trying. You got to keep trying. You got to keep writing, and you got to keep putting out stuff. Well, they say that these days content is king, and I think that's true. But there also has to be a patience aspect to it. I mean, I mentioned The Man from Tara has just started to sell with a weird frequency this year, and I published it 4 years ago. So why did it take 4 years for it to suddenly be found? I don't know. I wish I had the magic answer to that. Because then I could just duplicate it over and over again. But it's just one of those things that happen. So you just have to have that persistence. And honestly, and I remind myself of this quite a bit, if you get into writing books and writing these things with the sole purpose of making money, it might not be the best way to go about it. There have been months I make virtually nothing in royalties, but I could keep writing because I love writing, and I don't know what else I would do if I weren't writing. So I mean, I wrote my very first short story, which was a Jaws ripoff, when I was in the 3rd grade, and I sat down at my mom's electric typewriter, and over the course of several days pounded out this 3-page story that was basically one really long paragraph. And after that I was hooked. I was hooked because I had made this thing. I had put my imagination onto paper, and it was fascinating, and I was hooked ever since then. And I've been writing in one form or another ever since. So all I can say is just keep at it. You got to keep at it, and you got to keep
Right.
And people will find you if you get your stuff out there. I like to think of myself as kind of like, there are cult movies, cult TV shows that maybe aren't, the #1 bestsellers, but you get a sort of a hardcore fan base. I kind of have that. I maybe don't have the biggest fan base, but I have a certain number of people out there who want to know when the next book's coming out, want to know when and so that's pretty cool too.
Well, that's pretty cool. I like that. All right, so on the screen here is the caption, or not the caption, is the image for the caption contest, the photo. Yes, a real life photo, by the way. This is not Photoshop.
Speaking of
Okay. All right, Becky. Read the captions and let me know who they are, so that way I'm not biased. But yeah, read. Let's.
You say don't tell them.
Yeah, don't tell me who said it.
No. We're not telling him.
Okay.
This is.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, the first one. Times were hard, but even harder was getting out where the sand was going in.
Ladies, how hard is that?
I'm laughing.
I'll say that.
It's not pleasant. I'm laughing too hard to come up with something right now. Jesse got back. It's all about that ass, no boobies.
Yep.
Jesse needs to twerk for us.
That's a Pilates ass, by the way. That's Pilates and yoga right there.
It looks like a donut ass to me. I'll never be able to unsee this.
Well, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Dead sexy on the beach isn't what it's cracked up to be.
Okay.
Deadman finally made it to land. Now he could find his prince. However, this would prove to be a difficult task, for he could not speak because the evil sea witch Ursula had cut out his tongue.
Oh, that's
if only Sebastian and Flounder were here.
Oh, that's deep.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's
Little Mermaid story. I'm a Disney princess.
Oh, fuck me. From Victoria's Secret's.
Now, wait a minute. Now, that means you have to sing.
Oh, how can I sing without a voice?
I don't know, Ariel.
From Victoria's Secret's Lady Jesus line. The exact opposite of putting lipstick on a pig. Swine on a hind. And why Becky and Jesse are now banned from using Photoshop for life.
Oh my god.
Well. Okay. I like the Disney princess one. That might be the best. That might be the best one, I would think.
There was a lot of effort put into that one. Definitely.
Is that who wins?
Yeah, that's who wins. That's who wins. Who is that? Thank
you for sending that picture, by the way.
Ralph Moody.
Damn it!
He always wins. He's clever.
Isn't he disqualified yet?
Not yet.
Did you see your tattoo I put on your foot?
I did. Thank you. It's very
more like a brand.
Yeah, it's a slave
tat.
Oh
well,
it's a sex slave
brand, tattoo, whatever you want to call it.
It's a sex
Texas
slave.
Tattoo.
I work for Slenderman. You know what can I say?
Bullshit.
He's the one who took the photo, by the way.
Didn't we? Huh?
Slenderman took the photo. Yeah.
So then we had a poll too, but I'm trying to find that.
We had a poll?
Huh?
What was the? Oh yeah, the poll. Okay, what was the poll?
The poll was, are you more tired of every superhero except Deadpool, Spider-Man, Batman, and then SK added another one, but I can't find it now. And they voted that they were tired of every superhero except Deadpool.
Huh.
What about y'all? Are y'all tired? Y'all agree with that poll?
Yes.
I'm okay with it.
Are you tired of every superhero besides Deadpool?
I haven't quite reached that level yet, but I am a total comic book superhero nerd going back to being a kid. So I still go see every single one of them. But so I haven't reached total burnout phase yet, but I can understand why many people have.
Now, I want to ask you something. Because I was thinking about this. I was like, okay, if there's a superhero that I'm the most burnt out of, most tired of, I am tied with either Batman, because I'm like, do we really need another origin story? Do we really need another reboot?
Yeah.
And in Spider-Man, same reason. Do we need another origin story? Do we need another reboot? I'm tired of it. Like,
Plus, he's kind of a weenie.
but what do you think about that? What do you
He
think about
is.
that? And if I'm misspoken, feel free to.
No, I agree. I think both of those are ones where the last thing we need is another reboot. I mean, get over it already, Bruce. I mean, seriously, Bruce Wayne. I mean, you've been Batman forever now, and so you should be over this thing. But whatever. I agree. I think those two. Although, again, going back to when I was a kid, Spider-Man was probably the first hero that I really was like totally obsessed with. I would think I was Spider-Man 4 Halloweens in a row when I was a little kid. But these days, I mean, it's rebooted every couple of years, and at some point you gotta just stop.
It almost seems like it's
it.
tradition at this point. And then it seems like Hollywood just does it because it's tradition.
Well, it's been 3 years. We got to start over.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, with comic book movies, help me out here, but there's so much material. There's so much material. So many superheroes haven't even been touched yet or been covered. Not to make it like #MeToo, but you know what I'm saying? They haven't had their chance yet. Like, it's like Hollywood only focuses on Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. Then you have like the X-Men. And of course now you have like the Avengers and all that. But now they're bringing out Captain Marvel. Who was Captain Marvel? Who? But and that made $1 billion. Because it's a big blowout movie. It's on the Marvel brand.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I tend to like when it comes to the superheroes. I like the guys who aren't like. I've never been a big fan of Superman. Just because I just don't ever buy it. That who can ever really go up against a guy who is so strong he can move planets out of orbit and is completely bulletproof and indestructible.
Yeah.
So he has
So,
no vulnerability.
Yeah, I mean, in the comic books, it's like how much kryptonite can Lex Luthor get his hands on? It's supposed to be this ultra rare element, and he's always got some on hand. So at some point, it's just it's ridiculous. So I don't like those godlike superheroes.
Oh, I agree.
I
agree. In fact,
do you like the comic Watchmen?
I did. Yeah, that's one of my favorite books I think ever was the whole Watchmen series. So yeah, that was good.
Kelly Evans asked that in our chat.
My favorite superhero when I was in high school and really into the comic books was Daredevil, because he was blind and he just used his fists and his martial arts skills and his basically all of his super heightened senses just compensated for the fact that he couldn't see. So it really didn't, I just always liked characters who were like that, who had to kind of.
What do you think of the Daredevil, the Netflix Daredevil series?
I like the Daredevil Netflix series. I'm not too thrilled that they keep canceling it, and they're gonna all bring it over to their new Disney streaming service that I'm gonna have to pay for probably.
Yeah, I did a little video on that, and I did a video on that on this channel, and I don't know. It looks like since Disney owns all that content, pretty much, that I don't know how bright the future looks for Netflix. But since Disney Plus is going to roll out, and they own Marvel, pretty much,
they'll buy out Netflix.
Yeah,
for the subscribers.
That's probably how it's
going to end up.
I mean, Yeah, that's the one asset that they have that others will want, and that's their subscriber base.
Mm.
And to be fair, Netflix needs that because their economic model is not long-term sustainable. Because they keep pumping money into these new projects, and they have they have their subscribers once a month. Boop, 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 boop.
And
I mean, so in order to get more money, they have to get more subscribers, and that's a finite number.
Yeah.
Well, it might be a big number, but there's a limit.
Yeah. I can see the problem there because you think about these projects. We're talking about when you say a project, we're talking about like a film project. I mean, these actors, directors,
these are not cheap.
Getting paid lots of money, millions of dollars for what? Just and they're getting paid out from the subscriber money. I mean, what is Netflix keeping?
No, they're not keeping anything.
Question.
I mean, the thing is that they're in a losing proposition with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They keep pumping out all this content that's digging into their cash reserves and not getting refilled as fast as it's going out.
Man, but yeah, I do agree that it does suck that they're going to cancel it, and I wonder what's going to happen because I don't know if it's going to be like instantaneous because there's probably some contractual dispute. They're like, oh, we can't just put it all on our platform for a set amount of time or whatever, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, what is your favorite horror? You got a favorite horror movie?
Oh God! Again, it's so difficult. I like so many horror movies. I mean, I like John Carpenter's The Thing is probably one of my favorites. When I was
that's good.
My parents let me watch horror movies when I was way too young, so so I was watching things like Halloween and Alien at probably a disturbingly young age, and they were some of my favorites. And but I mean, I think probably my favorite movie of all time to this day, and both the book and the movie are the ones who pushed me to get into writing, and writing the stuff I write about was Jaws, which is still considered a horror movie. But
straight right,
a monster movie.
Yeah, and it's probably the one movie I've seen more than any other, and it could watch again like right now if
I just watched it like a month or two ago, and man, I tell you what, that movie holds up.
Yeah, it does. It's great. It's great, and the book's pretty good too. But it's one of those few cases where I think the movie manages to outdo the book. So,
and SK, you just mentioned something that got me thinking. You said monster movie. See, I never computed. It is a monster movie. I always thought of
it absolutely is.
It's a realistic movie though, because I mean, like I'm afraid of the water because of that movie. Are you kidding me? Like when I go to the beach, I don't want to go too far in the water. I'm afraid that sharks are going to get me. They say, oh, sharks aren't really going to bite you. They're not going to mess with you. But bullshit, they aren't. You seen Jaws? I know they bite surfers.
People actually do get bit often in Australia. In waist deep water, get bit by sharks.
Yeah,
nope,
they sure do.
They live by everything in Australia.
Nope. See, when I go to Australia, if that day comes, I just want to stay at a bar and get drunk, and just let that be it.
Yeah, until a spider crawls up your leg and bites you in the butt.
If I'm drunk, that's okay. If I get totally wasted and then I get bit by a shark or a spider or get killed by an Australian woman, that's okay. That's okay.
That's right.
Yeah, but you better be worried about the little woman out.
She's gonna throw you. You're gonna go to the bar. The women are gonna throw you over a 3-story balcony.
That's not how you pronounce it. Damn it.
Oh man.
What'd you say, mate?
Hey. Oh man. We gotta get you on again. because we didn't have really enough time, I don't think, to
Absolutely.
talk about the SEO. I know a lot of people have questions about SEO, but,
Oh my gosh.
but we only have
I-
so much time.
I feel like I'd need to do a full lecture on that or something. I don't know. I could, yeah. we could
We're
probably
okay
talk
with
about
this.
that.
I'm
Yeah,
okay
yeah.
with that. I'm okay with that. We could frame these episodes for return guests to know exactly what
There
we're
you
talking
go.
about. Still keep it loose form
Yeah.
like this, conversational. But you know,
Yep.
coming on talk about SEO. Okay. Bryan W. Alaspa.
That's right. Very
Thank you s-
dramatic. That was a very dramatic reading of my name. I appreciate
Dun,
that.
dun,
That was good.
dun.
It's always like that with me. I have a
We're
reading
so
pattern
sorry.
of someone who didn't get past the fourth
I liked
grade.
it. No, it's good. It's good.
I have these dramatic
Well, don't
pauses. in
encourage
everything I
you,
read.
damn it.
And really, the dramatic pause is because I'm processing the rest of the sentence. That's what's happening there. So watch. The town of Whittier is isolated in Alaska, and the people all
That's right.
live within towers. See,
In the towers?
in the towers, in the towers,
In them there cars.
in their car. Okay,
They
what?
live in them towers.
In their tires? What are we talking about? What?
No,
Okay.
the people live in the tires.
In tires. Hold on, Becky. I
They
can't
live
save you from this.
entirely in the tires.
I can't save you from
Yeah.
this one, Becky. What? They live in the towers. In the towers.
That's what I said. They live in the tires.
Oh my god.
All right, that's going
Okay,
on the list.
that's good. All right, Bryan W. Alaspa.
Cow.
Thank you so much
Yes.
for coming on the show, man. Thank you so much. I think
Sure thing.
I think talk with you got a lot of information that can help out writers.
I appreciate it.
It was good. It's good.
And you know what? If I don't get this out, the people I'm working with on this project will kill me. But hopefully next month, my own podcast will be coming out.
Ooh.
You won't actually hear my voice on it, but it will be my stories, adapted, and it's going to be called When the Night Comes Out, the podcast, and it's going to be a horror anthology, sort of like a Tales from the Crypt or Twilight Zone-ish kind of thing. I've been developing this now for a few months, and season 1 should be coming out next month and available at all the places, and I'm already writing season 2, so that's kind of fun. I used to be a big fan of old-timey radio, so the fact that my stuff is being turned into like radio plays is kind of a dream come true for me. So if I didn't throw that out there, the people who were producing it would be like, so why did you go on this thing for talk about?
Oh yeah, by the way.
Thanks for having me.
And no problem.
Make sure you let me know when that happens, when it comes out. And
Absolutely.
we'll
Yeah.
throw a link up for you.
It'll be all over my social media for sure. So I will definitely make
Then
sure everybody
I will know.
All right,
So.
man. All right, well, look forward to that.
Very
Maybe
cool.
maybe we could, talk about it when it's released. You come on, talk about it. Maybe play part of the episode.
Absolutely.
And, go in detail and all that. Well,
Absolutely.
Alaspa, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone,
Thank
you made it
you.
this far. Press that like button, share, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to go laugh, man. Because we talk about all sorts of stuff on the show. Definitely don't share it to some kid. They don't need to be listening about donkeys and whatever the hell we talk about there. But come on. Anyway,
Who doesn't need that? Rabid donkey. Okay.
right?
That's right.
Christ.
Oh my lord.
Ladies, gentlemen, y'all take it easy.